You have habits. I have habits. Whether good or bad, we all have habits that will propel us forward or keep us from achieving our goals for life. If you truly want to achieve your goals, then you need to look at the habits that you've formed because habits are such a part of you. Remember, they are something that you do almost involuntarily. You need to really look objectively at your habits or get get someone to help you look objectively at them to give you insight. The good habits you create are going to be the engine that drives you forward. Hey moms, welcome back to the Life Unboxed blog show where we talk about all things momtrepreneur, from raising your kids to running a business, and the most important one, to keeping your sanity. I'm Jodie the mom from lifeunboxed.blog, and if you're enjoying this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, download the podcast wherever you're listening, share, you know the drill. And remember, if you have questions, be sure to let me know what they are because I would love to help you on this momtrepreneur journey. This is part 3 of a mom's realistic guide to setting goals and crushing them. In part 1, we talked about why the popular systems, such as SMART and SMARTer goals, usually don't work for moms. For part 2, we distinguished between goals and habits and talked about getting started on your goals. For this post, we are going to talk about creating habits to achieve your goals for life. Okay, so let's talk about creating habits to crush your goals for life. I love the idea of focusing on creating habits instead of goals that I never actually accomplish. So when I read Atomic Habits by James Clear, it was a light bulb moment. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy also has similar ideas. My attitude is always to take on the world and conquer it. And yes, I made a t-shirt for that. Link is in the description below. And I usually accomplish it. But the older I get and the more kids I have, it makes it harder to do. That's just reality. Life happens. I don't have as much energy as I had in my 20s. You never thought you would reach this point when you're in your 20s, but then when you do, it's like, oh, it's true. So, that's just life. So for me, I had to find another way to conquer the world, or at least try to. And it was actually my husband who spoke rationally to me, like he usually does. He said the Navy SEALs look at getting 1% better every day. That is their mantra. You need to stop trying to get 150% better in sprints, but look at this as a marathon. To be honest with you, I prefer to sprint. This is what it usually looks like. Sprint, recover, and you get the idea. But this pace eventually becomes unsustainable. So I need to figure out how to run a marathon instead of a sprint. I may be running slower, figuratively speaking, but the accumulative distance is going to be greater. Creating habits of improving 1% every day will be the system that gets you to accomplish your goals. But keep this in mind. If you try to do everything in the first week, you will fail. Get better every day. So the accumulative progress is what matters, not what you happen to accomplish in one day. Okay, so now let's talk about how to get habits to achieve your goals. So habits create behaviors, whether good or bad, that will move you in one direction or another. So they can move you towards achieving your goals, or they can keep you stuck or moving backwards in the same place. So every goal is doomed to fail if it goes against the grain of human nature. That was in Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you want to crush your goals, then you need to work on your habits. After you start to notice your good or bad habits, because you have to start there first, here are a few tips to get you started on creating new habits. Now, Atomic Habits clearly has more recommendations It's a 200-page book or more. So I would definitely recommend either reading it or getting the audiobook. I listened to it on the audiobook. Just to give you more ideas and to really dive deeper into the psychology of creating habits. Okay, so number one, and this is taken from Atomic Habits. I'm just adding my own application to it because, again, Atomic Habits was not written for moms. And so I'm coming to you as a mom who wants to give you the tools you need to crush your goals. So let's talk about habit stacking. So if you want to start a new habit, then stack it with a habit you're already doing. So your old habit becomes the cue to trigger your new habit. So if reading more is a habit you want to create, here's how you would habit stack. After I pour my first cup of coffee in the morning, if you're a coffee drinker, which it's very early on a Saturday morning, so I am a coffee drinker, I will sit on my couch and read for 5 minutes. You're using the habit that you've already done. So this habit of pouring yourself coffee every morning is involuntary. You just do it. And you do it without thinking. So add to that, once you have your coffee in hand, pull out your book, sit on the couch, and read for 5 minutes. Coffee is going to be your cue to start reading. Number 2, find your groove. Okay, and this is so important, I think, for moms. So this is my take. So habit stacking was from James Clear and Atomic Habits. This is my advice to you. Find your groove. So find the routine and habits that work for you and work for your schedule. When you're starting out, it can be difficult to really assess the time needed for a particular habit or how long something will take. And there's a lot of advice telling you how to do this or that, but you need to find what works for you. So the goal is to improve at a steady pace, and only you can determine what that pace actually is. So if you're trying to get into the habit of writing 500 words a day, because you know what, that's what all the writing books tell you to do, right? But it is taking you longer than anticipated, cut back and find the word count that you can easily do in the time you have. So it's not just about meeting a quota, it's also about how much time do you as a mom actually have? Do you only have 5 minutes to start writing? Then just write as many words as you can in that 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And this is starting out. You are not going to stay here because you know what's going to happen as you start getting into the habit of writing. Your brain is going to switch to writing mode at that time, and it'll be involuntarily because this is a habit you are creating. And so you will start to get into that groove of writing and your word count will increase. So there's so much advice and so many how-to rules, but the best thing to do is to take the best ideas and then try them and find what works for you. Respect the routine. So this is a very important step when you start to create habits. Once you habit stacked and found your groove, you need to respect the routine. It is so easy to put something off to the next day. We are really good at scheduling everything we have to do today for tomorrow. I even added that to my demotivational journal here. So if you are going to achieve your goals, then you need to respect the routine that you created. Do it even when you don't want to, don't feel like it, or life just handed you lemons. Even if you can't take the full amount of time, because let's face it, life does happen. Take 5 minutes to work on your habit. Whatever you do, respect the routine. So I am down here early on a Saturday morning, so everyone is still in bed. I have mom hair, so I threw on my hat, but my routine of recording my episodes for the podcast and YouTube channel has to be respected, or I will just get off the rails. And trust me, it is so easy. Just be like, I don't feel like recording today. But here's my advice. I do not have a specific day that I record because, again, life happens. I got 6 kids and I'm homeschooling them. Some days are just a little rough. So my goal is to record so many episodes this week. So this week I'm planning on recording 2. Usually I'm trying to cut it back, so just doing 1 a week because that would make it a bit easier. But as you're watching this and in November and you'll get into December, I'm trying to take that month off. So I'm having to, double up at some point. But the routine gets respected. And again, it's not a specific day for me when it comes to this particular aspect of my life, but it's what do I need to do for this week? How many episodes do I need to record for this week? And then I make space for it. So early Saturday morning, toss the hat on, and here I am, Mom, showing up for you. Okay, so now let's get into the actual process you need to achieve your goals. Okay, so number 1, how do you see yourself? In Atomic Habits, the author places a lot of emphasis on identity-based habits. The idea is to focus on who you want to become. If you want to change your habits, then you need to change who you are. It doesn't work if you just try to change your behavior, as the quote mentioned above previously. You actually need to change what you think about yourself. So not to get too woo, because I am not a fan of being disconnected from reality. For example, if you see yourself as a healthy person, but you won't get off your butt to act like one or work towards it, then no amount of calling yourself a healthy person will make you one. You actually need to get off the couch and start working towards the habit of being a healthy person. So in a lot of my jobs that I have been in, just because of the nature of the job, I have met a number of people who are disconnected from reality. And in other words, they see something as one thing without taking into account the poor decisions somebody is making, and they won't achieve that goal because of the poor decisions that they are making. So I don't want you to take this as, well, I just need to call myself a healthy person and then I'll be one. No, you actually have to put that into action. So if you want to be a healthy person, you want to be a writer, you want to be a reader, it does take action, not just seeing yourself as one and no action. So these have to go hand in glove with each other. So what type of person do you want to become? Do you want to be a healthy person? Are you seeing yourself as a writer? Do you see yourself as a reader? How you see yourself and what you think about yourself will have a direct impact on your habits. Number 2, replace bad habits with good. The first thing you need to do is to see your bad habits, recognize them, look at them objectively. You don't need to replace them all at once. Okay, so don't try and I'm going to just change all of everything right now. Look at one and see what you can replace it with. Do you want to be a reader? Then ask yourself, how much TV do you watch? Or how much time do you spend on social media? Can you replace these bad habits or habits that don't move you forward? Because these aren't necessarily bad habits. Sometimes we just need to relax. But can you replace these things that aren't moving you forward with reading for 5 minutes? And just start with 5 minutes of reading to create that habit. Seriously, you may only get through a page or 2, but start small. Eventually, at that pace, even if you never increased, at that pace, you will finish that book. So, in one of my notebooks, I have a pile here, so let me choose one for you. Okay. So, in this notebook, it's your Mom Boss notebook, Ridiculously Good Ideas. And it's a dot grid. So, create 2 columns, and you can either create them this way or you can create it this way, however you want to do it. You can see it in the camera. Create it. Create a 2-column row. And in one column, list your bad habits that you want to replace. In the next column, list the habits that you want to replace your bad habits with. Then pick one and start working on it. Decide when you will do it. Remember to stack it with another habit and give it 5 minutes a day or however many times a week you want to do it to start. Just start there. But the important thing to do is to start. Number 3, patience. Be patient with yourself. And this truly is the hardest part for me. I am never patient with myself. I like to get things done as quickly as possible so I can move on to the next thing. So, accomplishment done, move on to the next project. But if you're going to improve 1% every day, then it requires patience. Warren Buffett made this statement. That's how knowledge works. It builds up like compound interest. And this is true with everything that you do. Building it up a little every day may be a very small feat for that day, but just like money grows with compound interest, so your habits and tasks will grow. Over time, you will see the growth. It may not be measurable by one day, but it's the compounding of your behavior that will cause growth and propel you forward. Number 4, create the right environment. All right, so going back to our example of being a healthy person. If you want to create new habits to crush your goals in life, then you need to create an environment that you will succeed in. So if you keep buying ice cream and Oreos, you are creating an environment for failure. And please understand, if I had that stuff in the house, like I would be the one eating it all. So I just don't buy it. So I'm creating the environment that is not going to set me up for temptation and then failure, because there's always a reason to eat sugar. Like there's always an excuse. There's always a reason why we should indulge. So I just don't buy it, and then I don't have the opportunity to indulge. So create an environment that you can be successful in as well. So I try to ride the exercise bike at least 4 days a week in the morning. So same time every morning. But in order for me to do it, I really need my husband to set it up for me. So I will work from about 5 to 8 in the morning. The kids get up at 8 and come down for breakfast. And then I go upstairs to get ready for the day, because I don't get up and get ready. I just get up. And as I go into our bedroom, the exercise bike is set up and ready for me to hop on it. So I also watch, at this time, I will set up my Kindle or iPad, and I will watch Perry Mason, because yes, I love the old black and white shows. While I'm writing, I will watch it. So I've created an environment with my husband's help to work on my habit of exercising 4 days a week. And watching Perry Mason is my reward for while I'm writing. So again, it's creating that environment for success. And number 5, which I realize you can't see on the slide, but I will tell you what it is. Build up to it. So habits are about behavior change. So you need to move slowly. If you try to make dramatic changes all at once, it will lead to failure. So set yourself up to succeed. If your goal is to run a 5K, but the behavior you want to have is to be a healthy person, then start small. If you aren't used to running 3 miles, then you won't be able to do it the first day. But if you start walking that distance, you will more likely succeed at it. But even that may be too much to start, depending on what shape you're in. We are all starting at a different place. So start with a 10-minute walk every day. Do that for the first week. Then do 15 minutes the second week. Just build slowly. And soon you will find yourself able to go the distance. The key here is to be consistent with whatever you decide to do. So let me end the show with the same question I asked in part 1. Mom, are you ready to zig with me when everyone else is zagging? If zagging hasn't worked for you, then try something new. What are some habits that you can start creating so that you can accomplish your goals in life? Be sure to check out the other shows in the series. Part 1, A Mom's Realistic Guide to Setting Goals and Crushing Them. Part 2, Setting Goals in Life for Moms Getting Started. And then, of course, stay tuned for Part 4, which will come out a week after this one. So if it's already out, go check that one out too. Links are in the description below for you. I am so glad you joined me today. If you want to help spread the word, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember to check out the Life Unboxed store for all of your Mom Boss merch. You can support the show with coffee for my early Saturday morning recording sessions. You can visit Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/Life Unboxed blog to buy this tired mama a cup of joe. And for more great momtrepreneur content, follow Life Unboxed on social media or check out lifeunboxed.blog. Be sure to share the podcast and video with your friends, and I will see you in the next episode, part 4 of Achieving Goals.